Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to talk about bacteria in our Wellness Wednesday session. Now, this is quite an extensive topic, which is linked very much so with digestive health. However, I'm literally just going to touch on the bacteria side, and then in a couple of weeks' time, we will have another session with more in-depth detail on digestive health. So, start off with some facts, which I quite like, is we are made up of more bacterial cells than human cells. Now, this is something I only discovered when I worked in a job that involved working with active cultures. And to the normal layman, really, this may sound quite gross because bacteria we associate as being dirty, creates disease, etc. But there are so many forms of bacteria, and they can have very much have a positive effect on health as well. Now, it is also estimated that over 90% of exposure to microorganisms actually occurs within our gut. And if you think logically, there's bacteria all around us, there's bacteria all over us. We ingest food which will have bacteria on it, then it logically makes sense. Which then again, greater than 70% of our immune system is found in the gut. So this is our potential protective barrier. So if we just then look at the digestive tract and its microbial residence. So basically, there are 100 trillion bacteria in or on the body. That is just, you can understand why there's more bacterial cells than human cells. However, the majority of these do seem to be concentrated predominantly in the colon, with up to over 1,000 species. So you can see the whole digestive tract there in the PowerPoint, and the CFU is the colony forming units. So that is how many bacteria that would be in that particular part of the digestive tract. Now, bacteria, as I said, we associate them as being harmful, but actually they are really vital for overall health and our gut function. What do the bacteria do in the gut? So they have a strong influence on health, but also the whole body. They help absorb nutrients, they help protect from diseases, etc. The harmful species, they tend to produce toxins and carcinogens, encourage the growth of bad bacteria, and can potentially create intestinal gas. The beneficial species then, so they can help us break down undigested food in the large intestine. They will discourage the growth of harmful bacteria and encourage the growth of good bacteria. They help things tick through more smoothly, and therefore can help stimulate the immune system, as well as also producing some vitamins such as B12 and K. So how do these bacteria then create a protective barrier? We looked at earlier, we could see that the majority of the bacteria will colonize or migrate and make their little home along the colon wall. And there's lots of little intestinal villi that live on this colon wall. Now, there are 3 layers of defense. The first one is the epithelial layer. And this is the most vulnerable part of the whole immune system. It's single-celled, and that enables faster or better absorption of all the nutrients that are digestive in our digestive tract to pass through the membrane wall, travel into the blood, and to all our respiring body cells and tissues. The next protective barrier is our mucosal layer. Now, this is a protective barrier that as we age actually starts to dry out a little bit. So whilst it's good, it will deplete as we age. The bacterial layer is the 3rd layer of our gut defense, and you can see here it is a little barrier, and this is the one layer within the gut defense that we can actually influence through having a healthy, balanced diet. And what happens is the bacteria in our gut creates a wall or a barrier, and that stops the bad bacteria infiltrating through. So you can see in this diagram, the last little pop-up, the good and the bad. So the red is good, the black is bad. And this is what would happen if you ingested some bad bacteria and there wasn't a strong enough good bacterial layer to protect and stop the bad bacteria colonizing along the gut wall and causing havoc and infection and making us feel ill. So, as I often say to recruits whenever we're talking, you may look nice and fit and healthy on the outside and be able to run and pass all the military fitness tests or whatever fitness test you're doing, run marathons, etc. But you don't necessarily know what's going on in the inside. So you really do need to be mindful of kind of having a healthy, balanced diet. Just because you may think you're healthy on the outside, but think about what's actually going on the inside. Now, what can affect our gut bacterial wall? So our lives are forever changing. We have lots of exposure to both good and bad bacteria. If we don't have a balanced diet and have a diet that's very high in fat, salt, and sugar, that will create a bad balance of the good bacteria, the environment in which we live in. So, during the winter months, there's more exposure to bacteria or the bad bacteria, the common cough and cold, or the common flu. If you're a runner and go out in the open air, there'll be exposure to lots of bacteria. Infections, age, will also affect our immune system and the gut bacteria, stress, and also some medications. So more mainstream antibiotics, for example, have the potential to completely wipe out all the bacteria within the gut wall because it can't distinguish between the good and the bad, whereas the other antibiotics that are more strain specific can. And so that's why doctors really do discourage you from just requesting an antibiotic the first time you feel ill, and why some of doctors will also recommend that you would consume an active culture whilst consuming the antibiotics, because that's trying to help keep the good bacteria topped up. So how do we top up our good bacteria? It can be achieved in two ways. So we can either consume live or active cultures of the bacteria found in yogurt-style drinks and desserts, or we can consume foods that support the growth of the good bacteria. So they really will act like a fertilizer. So again, going back to the tree, you can't see the roots, but you will sprinkle fertilizer, etc., on the soil so that it infiltrates through and helps create a good grounding for the tree to flourish on the outside. So consuming active cultures then, there's a couple of things that you do really need to look out for. So active cultures are different to live yogurt. This is because they can withstand the stomach acids in the stomach and therefore transport the whole way down to the colon and colonize and create that strong barrier. Whereas live yogurt, the bacteria isn't robust or strong enough and therefore it's killed off. Now, how you can actually test this is products that have good active cultures in them will have actually tested in individuals. Once they've ingested their active culture product, they will have tested their stools and you will be able to see some of those active cultures in the stools. Sounds pretty gross, but that is the only way that you can really find out if the active cultures are strong enough and withstand the stomach acid. Most of these products are found in fermented milk drinks and yogurts, and there are also some dietary supplements. Now, my take as a nutritionist is you should always get things from food first. However, the things that you really need to ensure when going for active cultures apply to both food and supplements. So you need to ensure that the strain is stated on the product pack. So usually it will be a lactobacilli or a bifidobacteria. However, there are a couple of other strains, and that the actual full name is stated on the pack. So, for example, with Yakult, it would be Lactobacilli casei shirota. So there's 3 points to it. And the third little point, so the shirota, for example, is that individual strain of the active culture. Now, some products, such as Activia and Actimel, for example, and VSL3, will have more than one strain of the active culture within the product. Now, that is fine, because they will have research to show that that product has a beneficial effect in whatever form they're looking to see the benefit. And that could be either immune benefit, a specific disease state, or just overall general health. Now, the amount of bacteria must also be stated on the label, and this should be in at least 1 billion. And if these things aren't stated on the product, but you think it's an active culture or it's claiming to be an active culture, you are more than entitled to contact the company and ask, and they should be able to have that information. And ideally, they should have a study to prove that it withstands the stomach acids as well. Now, the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, or NICE in short, they also have some guidelines for taking active cultures for those that are suffering with irritable bowel syndrome. So irritable bowel syndrome is actually a digestive disorder that is very hard to determine because there are so many other factors that could cause certain symptoms. So, it could be a mix of constipation, diarrhea, bloating. You could have all three, or we swing one way or the other with the symptoms, and it can really impact your health negatively. Now, if you're going to take active cultures, NICE guidelines recommend that you consume them for a minimum of 4 weeks. Now, this is to ensure that you've taken the product for long enough so that the good bacteria can colonize along the gut and build that strong bacteria. Within the first weeks, I would also say there may be the chance that you may feel more bloated and a little bit of a disruption. This could be that, maybe that strain doesn't suit you, or just the good bacteria trying to kind of fight its way into the gut wall and create that strong barrier and, sort of potentially disrupting a few things to kind of just get there. If after the 4 weeks you're still feeling discomfort, I would say that you should change to a different product because potentially that product or that strain does not suit you. They also recommend that you should stick to one product over that period of time. So yes, for example, Activia and Actimel and VSL3 have more than one strain of the active cultures. Just taking that product, you will be able to determine that those strains don't suit you. Whereas if you were to take an Actimel and an Activia at the same time, or an Actimel and a Yakult at the same time, and you were feeling not any better or more, you feel more bloated, etc., throughout the full 4-week period, you wouldn't know which product was actually causing those symptoms. So it is really important to stick to one product at a time, and also you should take the dose stated on the product pack. The second way that we can promote the growth of the good bacteria is actually promoting the growth of it, and this can be done through actually ingesting food, so non-digestible food ingredients that stimulate the activity of the good bacteria. So again, they act as a fertilizer. They aren't the actual bacteria, but they help the bacteria to grow along the gut wall. So foods include garlic, leeks, banana, asparagus, onions, etc. But, back to this diagram again, or this poster again, the Eat Well guide really is key to all of this. Having a good mixture of food from all the food groups, it really will help. So eating a healthy, balanced diet will support the growth of the good bacteria too, not just eating those specific foods. So my recommendation is that you would eat a variety of foods. You would consume foods that contain fibre. So it has been shown that actually we are not consuming enough fibre. So it's recommended that we consume 30 grams per day by the government. However, we currently are only consuming 19 grams. Now, fibre has been shown to help promote the growth of the good bacteria, as well as ridding the body of toxins more quickly, because it adds bulk to the food, which helps it push through more smoothly. Again, opting for whole grain foods, such as brown bread, pasta and rice. If you're not keen on, say, brown rice, perhaps mix it, so half white and half brown. The same goes for pasta. I know I think it's Kingsmill, they have 50-50. Those are all good options to increase your fibre intake. Also, including a variety of fruits and vegetables will help, but keeping the skins on of fruits and vegetables, because that will increase the fibre content as well. Now, obviously, you need to be logical about this, because there are some skins that aren't necessarily practical, but equally, even the likes of a butternut squash, if you were to put it into the oven and cook it for a prolonged period of time, the skin does soften. And I've actually recently learned that you can eat a banana skin as well, which is packed full of fibre. But again, it's about cooking it correctly so that it's actually palatable and a desirable food. You're not just eating it because it's got the fibre in it. Food should be enjoyed. Now, I would say, to help with this, aim for 5 a day, eat a rainbow of colours. One portion for you is one handful. And these are all standard healthy eating guidelines, but also they are simple guidelines that you're able to easily comply to as well. You should also include some beans pulses as well, as this will increase the fibre content too. And top up fluids. So you need to drink little and often throughout the day. This will help flush out toxins, but as well as that, fibre, if you don't have fluid with the fibre, it actually gets really hard, and therefore you become more constipated. Whereas you drinking little and often and being fully hydrated, this will help things tick through more smoothly as well. So just be mindful as well that sugar drinks that contain sugar will add to your calorie intake, and it all needs to factor into the bigger picture. So be mindful of the kinds of fluids that you're drinking and ensure that they are factored into your overall daily calorie intake as well. Stress is another thing that can actually affect the bacterial makeup within the gut. And when we are stressed, we produce a stress hormone called cortisol. And this will disrupt the communication from our brain to the gut, and can therefore disrupt our digestive system, which also includes our bacterial layer. Now, this is a very new area of research. It's a very interesting area of research. It's called the gut-brain axis, and more emerging research is coming out. But there is definitely a link with the brain and the digestive tract, and therefore the stress hormones, etc. If you're having a busy day or have a real tough workload or tight deadline, that, as we've learned in previous sessions, can really impact your immune health and how you're feeling. So it would make sense that it would also disrupt our digestive tract as well, and perhaps give us a stomach upset, or things may become more sluggish, etc. So to reduce stress levels, I'd recommend trying to use breathing techniques to help calm you down. This will take practice, but even for 5 minutes a day, I know there's lots of apps that will help you learn this technique. Also ensuring that you have time out. yes, you may be busy, but if you don't take some time out to kind of realign everything, then you're less productive, but also it will impact your health because you haven't let your body have time to sort of relax and chill, sort of recover. You can also talk to someone. Again, as a nutritionist, of course, I'm going to say eat a healthy, balanced diet. And I would also put in there, ensuring that you've got good, healthy sleep habits as well. Exercise is another thing that can actually impact your gut microbiota or your gut bacteria. There again is new and emerging research coming out all the time, but there are recent studies that have shown that exercise can increase the volume and the diversity of the good bacteria. It doesn't need to be excessive exercise or really intensive, just things like going out for a walk with the dog, or walk at lunch, even going up and down the stairs, to just take a break from your desk, that will reduce stress as well as it's a little form of exercise. That all these little steps will help overall health and well-being and impact your gut bacteria more than you actually realize. Again, thinking back to the tree, it's trying to maintain the roots so the outer complex is looking brilliant and flourishing. And really, as with the government guidelines, way back in our first session, we should be aiming for 30 minutes of exercise 5 times a week. So there we go. So that does bring us to the end of this session. I do want to remind you that the webinar will be uploaded onto our We Are ESS YouTube channel, along with all our other webinars. And as well as that, we have a supporting 4 or 5 minute video clip that just kind of gives you 4 or 5 tips in supporting your bacterial makeup or exercise, etc. There's also leaflets attached to all these topics as well, so something that you can take away. Please do like and share. Also, please do visit Nourished Life. There's such a wealth of information on overall health and well-being. It's a fantastic tool, and you have access to such a wide range of experts, from nutrition to chefs to overall well-being experts. And finally, you can contact me directly if you just email essnutrition@compass-group.co.uk with any of your wellbeing queries. I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And no question is stupid. If I can't answer it, I will look into it or refer you to a source or body that would be able to support you in whatever way they can. Next week, we are going to be talking about sleep. So we are going to discuss the sleep cycle, which is very interesting. I've been doing a little bit of research on that, how food can affect your sleep, exercise and sleep, and then also stress. So thank you for watching.